Good morning, everyone. Good morning. I have been here trying to dodge the light or get in the right light. I mean, how many of you can relate to this? You set up one way, the sun's doing something else, the light's doing something else, but guess what? I'm grateful. I'm here with you. And you know what? Today is Thursday. We are getting it done with gratitude. So, good morning. Hello. Welcome to you all. This morning, we are continuing our journey on reflections on the new year and what that means and how it means, and how sometimes at this time of the year, we start to lose traction a little bit. And we thought this morning we would talk to you about empowering you and how gratitude really impacts that. But
Yeah.
more than that, it's about discovering you. And my question is it really a new you, or is it that through introspection, through the practice of gratitude, you are able to peel back the layers and let the you that's always been there, that's been waiting for the moment, let that person just emerge so that you are empowered now to stand within all of your strengths. And this is not something that is easy, and it doesn't come easy to everyone. For some people, it's a walk in the park. For others, it's a journey, but what we do know is that it is possible, and that if you are using gratitude the way we've been speaking about it over the past 44 episodes, then you are going to have some tools already in your toolkit
Mhm.
that are going to help you step into that you that is just waiting to just flourish, to fly, to soar, to just be. So we want to get right into this, but you may be joining us for the first time. And so let me introduce myself to you. I am Karen Williams Thompson. I'm a life strategist and personal growth coach. And what I do is I work with women, usually 40 and over, who are really wanting to understand what is it I really want to do right now. I've been there for everybody else. I've put everyone else's needs. I've done that. So now it's my turn. And I help them to get absolute clarity on what that means for them, what that looks like, what are the things getting in their way. But more importantly, I help them to set a strategic plan for those big, exciting goals that they have so that they can break them down into manageable steps, so that they can celebrate each of those milestones and then have the fulfillment and the joy that they have been looking for. And I get to happily do this every Thursday with my good friend Shelly Ann. Shelly, good morning.
Good morning, Karen. And Thursday is just my immersive day of gratitude, I call it, because not only
Mhm.
do I get to do my gratitude practice every morning, on a Thursday, I get to talk about gratitude and share all the wonderful things. And I mean, today's session is one of the wonderful things because I think it really is speaking to the core of gratitude and how it helps us. But it's one of those things that, when you start looking at yourself and, like you said, peeling back the layers, quite often we see some things that we don't really want to see. And so the question really is, are we willing to peel back the layers and keep peeling them back even when we see things that we don't want to see? And so for me, that is something when my clients come to me, it's something that we discuss, because a lot of times, we want to be where we want to be, but finding the habits and the systems and the structure to really get us there, that's where it gets a little bit difficult. And many times people don't know where to begin and what to do, and they have these really grand, lofty goals and ideas that they start off with the excitement, and then things start to wane because systems are not in place. And when I say system, I mean when you're developing a habit, you really do have to look at your environment, you have to look at your processes, your relationships, and find the things that support you. And that's what I do with my clients. And we begin with gratitude. So I show them how to say it right by using empowering language with the self talk. I show them how to say it loud by making gratitude tangible and a statement and behavior. And I show them how to say it always by developing that daily habit of gratitude, because that's really the keystone habit to set things in place so that other habits can be formed that would get them where they need to be. And like you said, that well, we say new you because it's kind of like a discovery, but it's really like, dusting off and polishing what is
Hmm.
already there. Yeah.
I
And
think it's that.
I love this topic today.
I think it's really. Oh, what's happening?
The sun and you. Who's gonna win today?
Woo! I have no. It looks really, really dark. I don't know what happened. Wait a
Hmm.
minute. Hell. Any better?
Yeah, we're seeing you fine.
Okay, good. Once you're seeing me peeling back the layers, when you said that, I was thinking when we talk about empowering you and stepping into you, two things came up for me. One, oftentimes people tend not to do that because of the saboteur judge, who's then saying, but what will people think, etc., or feeling
Yeah,
that you'll be judged because people say, well, who she thinks she is, that she's all of this, etc. So that's one thing that does. But the other thing is that sometimes you're scared because sometimes when you want to peel back the layers, it means that you have to be vulnerable. And
hmm,
being vulnerable sometimes can be scary. Let's just be straight about that. And therefore, it takes courage. But if you actually focus on the things that you are grateful for, if you actually focus on the positive things, that actually helps you. That in that little shift, that really just helps you to embody what you're grateful for. And by doing that, you feel that little lift, your whole body takes on a different persona. Is that the right word? Takes on,
yeah,
you sit a little straighter, you feel taller. And when you cultivate that and you become more aware of the positive aspects in your life, it empowers you. And that those little steps empower you to be stronger, to take that courage then to step into you. And so when we talk about empowering you, it was like we mentioned earlier, it's not always discovering something new. I think that who you are is right there within you, but that we allow different things come in and they cloud our decisions, they cloud our
yeah,
minds, and we retreat. Which is where I say, then we settle. We come back into the shell and we say, "All right, let me not make a fuss. Let me not be the brightest star in the room. But why not?"
yeah. And sometimes we don't want to be that person. We have these
Exactly.
ideas that being who we are and making our own unique choices puts us in a position to be difficult when everybody else might be trying to make us conform and choose the options that they would choose. And so sometimes it feels as if we have to push back in
Mhm.
order just to be who we are. And when that happens, it really does feel as if we're struggling to be ourselves. And what I'm thinking too is, sometimes being grateful for a situation is not that you're happy that the situation is the way it is. And certainly
Mhm.
when you look at yourself and you see things that, you'd rather not be doing, you see aspects of yourself that you would prefer to change. The gratitude comes in there, not that you're grateful that you are that way, but you're grateful that you can see it, and you're grateful
Exactly.
that now you know what it is and you are aware. And so you're grateful that there are opportunities to change and
Yeah.
that you can change and that you are changing. And certainly when you work with a coach, there's a certain amount of gratitude in that as well, that you have someone in your corner who is
Walking
going to be
beside you.
supporting you and sort of guiding you and seeing things in a
Mhm.
way that you may not be able to see because of where you are at a particular point in time. And so even gratitude from that perspective helps quite a lot, just simply being able to say, what I'm seeing is not what I like. For example, I'm not at the weight that I want to be. I'm not as productive as I want to be. I'm not doing the things that I want to do. I'm not exercising. I'm not eating. So we're recognizing the things that we don't appreciate in ourselves, but we can appreciate the fact that we've seen it and we can take the steps toward it. And small steps, individual habits, taking the time to really understand what's contributing to it so that we could make the tiny steps forward and make the change that we want to make.
Absolutely. And as I sat here and I, listened to what you were saying, a personal example really actually just came back to fore, to the top of my mind for me. And 2022 was a really, really, I want to call a nice word now. So I'm going to say it was a very stretching year. Y'all can read all the other things in between there, but it truly, when you take a rubber
Yeah,
band now and you stretch it, and the only thing
yeah,
now is you think it can pop, it was that kind of year. And in that year, because I had not been working, my business hadn't flown exactly how I wanted it to fly at the time. Mommy had died. There were all of these things that were happening in my life. I mean, I my bank account was down to the lowest it had ever been, and I was like, "Oh my goodness!" At first,
yeah,
and then I did my gratitude every single solitary day. I looked around, even in the midst of all of that chaos, in the midst of that hurt, in the midst of that disappointment, in the midst of that sadness. I looked around and I looked until I found every day multiple things that I could be grateful for, multiple things that I could say, okay, this is not how I want it to be, but I am grateful that I can see where I am and it allows me to
mm,
plan for where I want to be. And I really fought to stay in the present because I realized that looking back was not going to serve me. Looking back was not going to change any of the circumstances that I was in. The only thing that was going to do that for me was me being intentional, was about me setting firm boundaries for myself, was me practicing the gratitude. And
yeah,
this is how we get to step into who we are by taking those bold steps. It's not by chance that for this year my word is bold. I know that everything that I have is here for the greater good of mankind, and in particular women whose lives I can influence and impact. But I also know I have to be bold. I have to practice the gratitude. I have to set the boundaries. No one is going to come and do it for me. And so I would never sit here and tell you, you know what? This is a walk in the park, because I know it isn't. But standing in who you are is the
mm,
best gift you can give, not only you, but you can give to everyone else that touches your space. And yes,
yeah,
it takes courage, but I promise you that if you take the time to self reflect, if you take the time to think about this is the situation, but don't dwell in it. Don't sit and, as we would say back here, lollop in it. Yes, it's there. Yes, it happened. Acknowledge it, own it, take the action to move. I have a 3 A's and I don't let them go. Set the intention. By setting the intention, this is what I'm grateful for, but you know what?
yeah,
This is the plan. Set the intention, write it out. Practice the gratitude. Listen, I don't wait for morning or evening to practice gratitude. I'm driving down the road and I get a park, I send my little gratitude at the same time. Something work out, I send in the gratitude the same time. Something that shouldn't have happened, I be sending the gratitude that you show me that it didn't work out the way it was supposed to be and point me in
hmm,
another direction. So embrace vulnerability is what I really think I want to say to you this morning. Embrace the vulnerability so that you can step into that, because in that brings that fulfillment, in that brings that inner joy that no one can give you. You bring that for you. And be around the right people, be around people that are going to call you out, people that are authentic, people that genuinely get you, whatever that is. I feel as if I've
yeah.
been on a rant, Shelly. stop
No, I'm,
stop me
I'm
stop me
listening and I'm nodding. Yes, like, mm-hmm.
stop me.
Because you know what I'm thinking? I saw a post yesterday, I think it was on Facebook, um, about someone saying she attended a course on copywriting. So she's a copywriter, and she was listening to the presenter, and he was making a lot of sense. And then he said something like, um, release perfectionism, and if your copy has mistakes, don't try to make it perfect because it will never be perfect. And she was like, no, you can't have mistakes in your copy. That's like, now the thing is though, when it comes to writing and editing, um I'm sure we've all seen, published books that have, millions of copies in the books, and we flip through a page and there's an A where we should have had an E, or there's a comma missing or a comma where there shouldn't be. Things like that happen because we're human, and even after multiple people go through a manuscript, there could still be minor errors. And I think in her case, what she was doing was mixing up minor errors with major flaws in the copy. So you're not talking about, a word missing and every paragraph or every sentence has an error. That will, of course, damage your copy. But
Mm,
if there's like one mistake here or there, people tend to forgive those kinds of things far more often than we realize.
mm-hmm.
And I had an experience. I think I spoke about this before, but I'll mention it again. I had an experience once where when I had first started going live in a particular group, and it was my first venture doing it alone because I had started with a colleague, and then she couldn't make it a few times, and so I decided, okay, I'll just do it on my own. And I'm there, first time I haven't set up properly or anything, and then um where I was a particularly windy space, and I had curtains, and so the computer is there and the curtain is there, and then the wind for some reason decided, you know what, today is the day we're gonna blow. And so the curtain started swinging, but it wasn't coming into the shot a lot, and well, at all. And so what I had done, I had used some clothes clips to hold it down so it wouldn't come into the shot. So I was kind of proud of myself, my little hack. But then it got even more windy and the clothes clips started popping out.
I could
And
so
I'm
see that. Yeah, that sounds so Caribbean. I could just see the close clips by
listen,
the curtain, everything.
and I'm there freaking out, trying to keep my composure and speak and explain the point. And and clothes clips flying, and the curtain flying. I'm like wanting to die.
Yeah.
And just barely keeping it together, and thinking this is like hell. How, and thinking that my face, because sometimes your face can't hide certain things, and I'm there staring intently at the screen so as not to be, my eyes darting all over. And then I came off and the live was finished. It was only the whole drama started, it was an hour live. The drama started about half an hour in, so I survived the remaining half an hour. And I'm there, close to tears because I'm so frustrated after the live finished. And then I get a pop up and I check. Somebody commented on the live and said, "Thank you so much, miss. This was so helpful. I appreciate it."
Nice.
And so there I was thinking, this is so horrendous. And what the people on the other side are seeing is they needed it and it was helpful. And so that is when I
Mm-hmm.
released my need for perfection in the lives. And I know things happen. As long as I do my best to make things as high quality as possible, then
Mm-hmm.
that is what my responsibility is. And when it comes to being vulnerable, as you mentioned before, that is a major aspect of it. Recognizing that even when you do your best, sometimes things work in a particular way and they may not always go according to plan. There will be people who will call you out because there are people who are so steeped in negativity they can't help themselves. But there
Mm-hmm.
will also be people who will support you and who understand and will appreciate even when there is a little issue here and there. And it's almost as if you feel real to them
Yeah.
because they recognize that, hey, stuff happened and what did you do? You didn't pack it in. You
No.
girded up and you continued.
Yeah. And I like that you said that there are, tons of negative people out there. And so there will
Yeah,
always be
there.
somebody who will say, you know what, that was supposed to be Anne, but you only had an A there. There will always be someone who is going to seek first to
Yeah.
point out the frailties or what's not right, as opposed to, what was the better message. And I think being able to tell yourself it is okay to be perfect in your imperfections. And, I had a similar, I used to freeze really when I was first going to do my lives. And I used to think, am I going to say the right thing? Is it going to sound sensible?
Yeah.
All sorts of things. And then my coach at the time said, just talk as if you're talking to me. And whatever happens, happens. Don't, set yourself up for all of
Mhm.
these things. And I've
Mhm.
had so many moments, the phone falling over, you being upside down, all these things. And I was so proud of myself because I just was like, oops, look what happened. I flip it right back and continue.
Yeah.
It's about telling yourself it is okay, you know,
Yes, it's okay.
go
It's
with
okay and it will
flow.
be
It's
okay.
okay. Yes, you know, and all of those really, all of that is just you showing up as you, because when you are not on this camera, real life still happens.
Yeah.
Things drop,
Yeah.
things fall, things don't go to plan. So why would we think that it wouldn't happen sometimes when we are in a situation like this? Why would we think that we would be going somewhere and stepping nicely in our heels and all of a sudden the heel break off and we like, oh my gosh, you
Yeah.
know and are you on
What's
an up and
that?
down and you will have no extra shoe in the car and it's just you gotta rock it. You gotta just,
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
say, you just gotta pick it up and
Yeah, you
go with
pick it
it.
up and you go and you roll with it. And I think for
Yes.
me, this is where gratitude really shines in terms of
Mm-hmm.
helping with recognizing
Excuse me.
that it's okay. Because even in that moment, looking back at it and thinking about the situation, I could be looking back at it and thinking, how could you be so stupid? Why did you use the close clips? You should have used more. You should have, could have, would have. Instead, I look back at it and I think I survived it and I stuck it out. I didn't, end the live and run away. I didn't, stop what I was doing. I continued and it finished and I was able to help someone in the process. And I saw a quote the other day, I the quote said, I helped a man up a mountain and then I looked around and realized I was at the top as well.
Mm.
And for me, that is what makes a huge difference when we look at what we're doing as not so much for us, but how are we showing up to help others? How are
Mm-hmm.
we showing up to make our space better? How are we showing up that when people encounter us, we make their day a little brighter? When my goal is that whenever I interact with someone, they should leave me feeling good about their day, feeling good
Yeah,
about themselves. And
I agree
so
with that.
that's the agenda.
Yeah.
And if in the midst of that, things happened here and there, then that's how it is. But I can still show up and keep showing up because this is my goal, this is my agenda. And when I do it with gratitude and I remind myself, hey, you showed up yesterday and things were cool. You showed
Mm-hmm.
up today, you'll survive this, this too will pass. And be grateful for the experience and what you're learning and be grateful for the opportunities that you have and the people that you've met and constant reminders of how much life has to offer and for me to experience, then I can keep going. Even when a close clip is flying across my face.
Yes, yeah. And it's about the acceptance of imperfection. And
Hmm.
gratitude helps us to focus on the good things. So just like how you focus not on the close pegs, but on just continuing with your message. Had you stopped, that person would not have been able to then message and say, "Thank you so much.
Yeah.
This is just what I needed." So the acceptance of imperfection, because sometimes we hold ourselves to some really stringent levels. And so to
Yeah.
accept
Yeah.
imperfection is good. And gratitude helps you to do that because it encourages you to focus on the good things in your life. So focus on the good rather than dwelling on what isn't or the perceived feelings. And this, when you are able to accept the imperfection, it then boosts the self esteem. And when you boost your self esteem, your confidence grows. And when your confidence grows, then you are more courageous. And when you are more courageous, then you are more comfortable with allowing yourself to show up as you. It
Yeah.
all starts somewhere. What is the first step that you are going to take today that is going to allow you to build on that sequence so that you can comfortably, with confidence, courageously step into who you are and let, as the song would say, let your light shine? You know,
Yeah.
Prac-
Yeah. It
practicing
starts
gratitude
somewhere.
helps us, yeah, sorry, helps us to really, gratitude is like that thread that, or that thing, whatever, that knits everything together. And so it just keeps everything together. And from there,
Hmm.
it could just build and build and build and build and expand. And it's up to us how far it goes. Sorry, Shirley, you were saying.
Yeah. No, I interrupted because I was thinking starting small. We talk about starting small all the time, and it's sometimes a challenge for people when they're in the midst of all kinds of drama,
Hmm.
knowing where to start and how to start. And especially when, like, for example, I know a lot of people are concerned about finances and, making ends meet and so on. And when you look at your bank account and you have, let's say, hypothetically speaking, you have $100 bill, and you look at your account and you have a bill to pay that's $100, and you look at your account and you only have 50. It's not enough. And it's going to really get to your core when you keep looking at what you don't have, and you realize that you just literally practically don't have enough. But when it comes to gratitude in a situation like that, it really starts with, I have 50. So that means only 50 more to get it done.
Truth.
And then what happens is that when you start thinking on the positive side, you're thinking, okay, let me speak to this person. Maybe they would take the 50 and I'll get a little extension to pay the other 50.
Hmm.
And so you start thinking more of how, as opposed to the negative of can't and impossible. You start thinking possible. And from my experience, being able to step back from finances and say, hey, I am, I have stuff to work with. There is something that I can start with, and getting in touch with a financial planner, or, there are lots of free services. I know in most countries there are free financial planning services here and there, and there are lots of people online who give advice and all kinds of things that you can
Hmm.
access and start making a change. And for me, when it comes to finances, the very first step was recognizing my money mindset and
Yes.
being able to change that. And you don't need to pay anybody to
Yeah.
recognize that. You don't need to put out anything but some time to read and to understand what it is your approach to money is so that you can start making changes. And so, but you can only see that if you start thinking, what am I grateful for?
And that really, as you were saying that, I was just thinking all the time, self awareness, self awareness, self
Yeah.
awareness. And gratitude encourages reflection. And when you are able to reflect on what truly matters the most to you, what brings you joy, when you have that better understanding of self, what are the values, all of those things, when you have that clarity, it makes it a whole lot easier for you to
Yeah.
just be you.
Yep.
And I think
Yep. Yep. Yep.
that empowering, and when you are standing in that space of you and you being empowered, then think about how much easier it is then, because you have that clarity, to set those goals, and not only to set them now, but to achieve them. So
Yeah. To
don't
take
tell
the
yourself,
action.
exactly, don't limit yourself by saying it's too late. It is never, ever, ever too late. Karen Williams Thompson says so. It is
And
never
and
too
and
late.
me and Shelley and it was Baron.
It is never too late. And right now, Shelley said something when we hopped on this morning. It is still early in the year. It is only February the 15th today. We all hope
Yeah.
that y'all had a wonderful Valentine's Day yesterday, if that's something
Hmm.
that you celebrate. And remember, the best place and the best person to love first is who? You.
Hmm. Love you.
So, so when you
Yeah.
think about it with the self-awareness and how that allows you then to sit in that space of clarity and to set the goals and then to achieve them, this in itself is reason why you should just be you, unapologetically you. So be
Absolutely.
empowered. Step into that person. You've got the whole rest of the year ahead of you to make all of those things a reality. And you've got
Hmm.
us. You've got
Yeah.
us right here. If you forget something, if you want a reminder, if you want to know which episode to find something in, reach out to us. We are happiest when we are helping you achieve the things in life that you want to achieve. So reach
Yep.
out.
Yep, because here's what you can get it done with gratitude. And so thank you so much for joining us today. We do appreciate, and we look forward to seeing you next week so that you can continue with the momentum, with the gratitude, putting systems in place so that you can be you and spread the love, spread the joy, and turn up in a way that, so you can show up and really be the blessing that you can be to others. So thank you so much for joining us and we'll see you next week. Take care guys.
Bye. Have a great day.